Guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another brand new PNSO release, and as you can see, we've got ourselves the Lythronax. This is one that I'm definitely hyped about. I think they did a great job on it overall, and from what I've seen from a few people that actually have received theirs already, the coloration slightly differs, I think, from what we see in the promotional images, but in my opinion, in a very good way, so I'm really excited to get this out of the box and check it out. As far as the box art, though, you can see we just have the PNSO logo there. Again, the name of the dinosaur. Nice image there of the dinosaur itself. Up here on the top, you can see another shot here of the head sculpt of the dinosaur. And then a nice little shot over here of it walking. Nothing really going on over there except some info. And then pretty much the same thing on the back. So let's pop the box open and check it out. So first of all, we've got the little plastic stand that we usually have. We also have a poster, which I'm very excited to see. It looks like we just have kind of like a really nice image of the figure itself. And that is exactly what we have if I can get it open here. So there we go. We'll set it back there. You can kind of see what we've got going on. Just a really nice image of the figure itself. And that's the first time that I've seen kind of like a promotional image that I feel like it really shows off the color of this figure, because a lot of the images had led me to believe it was going to be brown, but in reality, even though it does have some brownish tones on it, it has a lot more of a greenish tone from what I've seen. And I now have officially seen the figure just a moment ago, and I can confirm it definitely has some nice greens to it. But on top of that, we also have the booklet here, and the booklet always has all kinds of really cool images, kind of like some dino toy photography and stuff as you move through, and just generally really neat stuff that PNSO includes. Look at that image. That's really, really cool. And then, of course, tons of information on the Lythronax. So always a really fun read. Definitely recommend those. Definitely recommend checking those out. But of course, the star of the show is the Lythronax itself, and man, that is absolutely gorgeous. That might be one of my favorite PNSO figures of all time. Like, instantly I can say that, because the color scheme on this is awesome. I really love the tones of green they've chosen for this. There's a nice, very subtle dark wash, just adding so much realism to the figure. And then again, those really nice kind of reddish browns as you lead up into the face look super cool. The sculpt looks great. Boy, this one is a very, very exciting one. I would say even nicer than your usual PNSO release, which is really saying something considering they release some of the best figures on the planet. But I'm beyond excited about this. Let's jump to a closer look at this beauty right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt, you can immediately see how beautiful that head sculpt is. The really nice detail really shines on this, but it's also got lots of gorgeous coloration throughout. You can see all kinds of really nice, very subtle transitions between various tones of color, nice reddish browns, especially up here in the crest area running along the upper part of the head. And then we transition to much darker tones here as you lead down into the snout and along the jawline. You also have those, at this point, classic larger Tyrannosaur scales there in the snout of the dinosaur. You can see the nostrils sculpted really nicely, or you could before we lost focus. I love the really nice subtle variations of green there in the palette, and also some nice darker coloration there in the eye socket surrounding the eye. We've got a really nicely painted eye with a yellow, nice black pupil in there, and there's also that nice light wash within these larger scales, which helps to make those pop beautifully. Even some more nice variations of greens and darker tones as you move down here into the lower jaw. It all looks super professional, really well done. As you move down into the mouth, you can see, of course, the jaw articulates. We've got really nice detail inside the mouth. You've got a nice realistic tone of color. There's also a nice wash that's been applied to the inside of the mouth just to add a little extra color variation. And as you move back there into the throat, it looks like it genuinely has a throat, which I think also makes it even more impressive. And look at how beautiful that detail is as you look there at the inside of the mouth on the upper side. That is crazy impressive. And there's a nice gloss coat in there as well. And you can see all the teeth are sculpted. For the most part, they look to be sculpted individually, and they also have like a variation of kind of like an off-white and then sort of like a brownish, maybe like a brownish dry brushing over them to kind of give them somewhat of a dirty appearance, which I also quite like. And I always love elements of realism like that. And you can see what the head sculpt looks like and everything over here. Also really nicely done, very precise, gorgeous paintwork and sculpt work again. And of course the jaw works really nicely. You can see you can close it to any distance and then of course have it fully closed and it stays there very nicely. If you get nice and close, you can really take in how impressive the skin texture to the dinosaur is. As you move back there, you can see the ear as you lead back toward the neck. And here's where we kind of transition out of like that reddish brown. You can see even darker tones up here. But you lead down into the neck and you get some really appealing variations of greens. But I love how that reddish brown kind of runs down through the side of the neck as well. And we also start to pick up on this patterning of like a very dark brown. And it just sort of like spots and stuff as you move down the course of the neck. And they start to increase in size as you lead down into the body a little further. And you can really see how nicely that dark wash highlights the detail perfectly, giving it just an extremely realistic appearance. And we also have a darker variation of green running down here along the spinal column. You can see some nice bulkiness to the neck of the dinosaur as well. Some nice creasing as you lead down into the neck, because the dinosaur does have its head up in a upward position, so you can see how it would be wrinkling the skin there in the top of the neck. And you can also see some skin wrinkles and stuff down here, as well as down here in the throat region. There's also a really subtle variation of a pinkish tone as you lead down here into the underside of the lower jaw leading into the throat. As we continue to move down, you can see more really nice looking skin wrinkles and stuff leading into the arms. The arms are held into the body in a really nice natural position. You've got some variations of grays in the hands as well as a light wash, so that really makes the detail pop perfectly. And again, you can see the muscle definition, you can see the elbow. Everything looks really nice as you lead down into the arm. The nails are painted really nicely. They do have like a genuine sharp look to them, which is also a nice touch. As you lead up into the stomach region here, you can see some more skin wrinkles in front of the thigh, because the thigh is taking the leg in general is taking a step, but the thigh is kind of pushing into the stomach region there as it's taking that step. Super smooth transition as we lead up from that lighter tone of the stomach up into the variations of green further up, and again transitioning back to that darker green up here on the top. You can also see a nice light striping moving along the spinal column as well as the spinal column itself. As you move back a little bit further, you can see again the hip bone right there. Nice muscle definition running down the course of the thigh. Very nice looking kneecap in the front of the leg. Very big bulging calf muscle. You see more of that kind of designing here, that patterning with the darker variation of a brown. And then as you move down into the foot sculpt, you can again see how, just like with the hands, we transition to a grayish tone. There's a nice light wash which highlights the detail beautifully. You've got some nice scoots running down the front of the toes, all kinds of skin detail and skin movement as you lead down. Nicely painted nails yet again. You can see the dew claw kind of peeking out back there. And then as you lead up, you can see even more variations of like those pinkish tones leading here from the thigh into the tail, as well as the skin stretching there off of the thigh leading into the tail. You again have those really nice greens as we move out, all kinds of very subtle variations of like skin wrinkles, skin stretching, stuff like that going on, just creasing and everything as you move out, and a really nice curve to the tail as well. I love the tones of color on this, and you can see again that nice striping, that nice patterning as you move out. You also have more nice looking sculpt work and paint work here on the underside. You can see the cloaca is present there. There's also some alternate tones of color there around the cloaca. You can really see the muscle tone and everything as you move here along the underside and the legs. And then again, some nice looking skin texture and stuff here in the stomach region as you lead up. The opposing side's not going to look too different, but we do have the head turned in this position, so you can see a left-leaning turn for the dinosaur here. As you move down, you can see again those variations of like reddish browns leading down into the neck again before we transition to those absolutely gorgeous, vibrant greens that we have on the figure. And you can again see all the same incredible detail, but also that really nice dark wash that again just really highlights the sculpt perfectly. You can see the skin stretching off of the stomach on this side because of course the leg is trailing, but everything again looks pretty much the same over here, which means it's just as consistent as it was on the first side, except for of course the positioning of the leg. And you can see how the toes are leaving the ground as the dinosaur's taking a step. Extremely nice looking. Even the undersides of the feet are super highly detailed. And then you lead up again into the tail with that really nice curve as you lead out. So that is definitely one of the most impressive PNSO releases I think we've had yet. They just continue to release bangers, and again, in my opinion, they continue to one-up themselves almost every single time they release a new figure. As far as a size goes for our Lythronax, from the snout to the tail, you are looking at about 10¼ inches or about 26 centimeters, and then for a height, about 3¾ inches or around 9½ centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our Lythronax, which you can now see is a little on the smaller side, again, as you would expect it to be. But I think the more fun comparisons would be with other PNSO figures, so here we have a size comparison next to Wilson. I decided to bring in Wilson just because he's a pretty popular T-Rex that many people who collect the PNSO line most likely have in their collection. But for another comparison, here is the PNSO Juvenile Tyrannosaurus, or Nanotyrannus, whatever you would like to call it, next to the Lythronax, which you can very clearly see a pretty significant size difference between these two, this time in the favor of the Lythronax. We've also got PNSO's newest offering of the Tyrannosaurus Rex next to the Lythronax, just to, again, give you an idea of a size of this figure next to a, classic, I would say at this point, PNSO T-Rex, because even though not everybody grabbed this newest Rex, which I really recommend you do, it's right there in a similar size range to Wilson, and in my opinion is definitely an absolute classic now from PNSO. Then for some random, totally off-the-wall figures, we've got the Collect A Deluxe Dimetrodon next to the Lythronax. We've also got the Safari LTD Tyrannus, who is like leaning on the Lythronax, because for some reason today he's got a little bit of like a bowed leg syndrome going on. He's not standing too well. But for another comparison, there is the Schleich Diabloceratops next to our Lythronax, continuing to give you another idea of a size. And then one final comparison, we have a Mattel Velociraptor, which I like to bring in quite often for a comparison, just because it's a, I would say, almost universally known figure, so it should help to give you another idea here of the size. So this brand new PNSO Lythronax is absolutely incredible and easily one of my new favorites from PNSO, and this is talking about the entire lineup, which is quite vast when it comes to PNSO. Of all the figures they've released over the years, this is definitely a cut above the rest if you ask me, because this thing is gorgeous. The sculpt is great. I love the sculpt. The moment I was introduced to it with the promotional images, I had fallen in love with it. I thought it looked great, and of course really highly detailed. I don't know if anybody sculpts out fine detail as good as PNSO does, but the paint job is the thing that really sent this one over the top for me, really, again, ironed out my love for this, because initially I had almost dismissed it as being just like various brownish tones, because that's kind of the way that the original promo images made it look. But as soon as I had started to see other people, receiving theirs and seeing some in-hand images, I just fell in love with the tones of color on this. And now actually having it here in person, I can tell you with confidence, it's easily one of the most appealing looking paint jobs I've seen on a PNSO release so far. The tones of color used on it just look so good. They're just so nice to look at. Really vibrant greens on it, nice vibrant reddish browns up there in the face. Like, it just looks super, super realistic, but at the same time, very flashy and very appealing. And all of the paint is applied very nice and very smoothly, super smooth transitions back and forth. Tons of various tones of color have been added to this to give it an extremely lifelike appearance, and that dark wash just ties it all together so perfectly. The pose is also quite nice. I like the fact that the dinosaur is kind of walking along. You can see the toes leaving the ground, and you can also, again, open the mouth to almost give it like an attack sort of pose on maybe some sort of a larger dinosaur. So there's definitely some nice posability with the figure, again, because you can have it just this nice peaceful sort of walking pose, maybe like it's just sort of lifting its head up into the air or letting out some sort of a vocalization, or maybe it's just sniffing the air to kind of catch the scent of something around it, or again open the mouth to make it look like it's sort of attacking. Either way you go, it looks great, and again, just another of the many amazing aspects of this release. So if you are interested in this, I will include a link in the description to where you can grab your own from both the Amazon PNSO store as well as the Aliexpress PNSO store. So definitely grab yourself this figure from one of those two stores, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.